Hey guys, welcome back to One More Time. My name's Nate, and today we're going to be talking about the Casio G-Shock GW5000. Now, this is a 2009 JDM or Japanese domestic release, and for those of you that don't know what that means, it just means that it's a non-international release. It's just sold in Japan for the Japanese market. So, how did I get a hold of mine here in the United States back in 2012? Well, I had to go through something called a Japanese reseller. So someone in Japan who resells it to the international market. And I know that sounds scary, but there's a handful of very reputable ones online. And fortunately for you guys, due to the popularity of this model, you don't have to worry about that. You can easily find it on Amazon, eBay, and a multitude of other sites. So since 2012, that's 7 years of use. It's one of my most worn G-Shocks. It's one of my favorite G-Shocks. Let's find out why I like it so much and how it's held up. Let's dive into it. All right, there she is, the Casio G-Shock GW5000. But wait, it does look a little minty for a 7-year-old watch, doesn't it? Well, I did change out the resin on this watch a few months ago, and for good reason. But to be fair to you guys, I'm going to put the old resin back on. But hold on, before I do that, I think you guys are going to want to see the watch without the resin. Let's do it. And here we are, showroom ready, the Casio GW5000 without the resin on it. Now, as you can see, it has a very black case all throughout, and this case coloring comes from the DLC or diamond-like carbon coating that goes over the case. This case coating is supposed to be very scratch resistant. It's very high on the Mohs scale. It should be very similar to diamond. Now, it's not impervious to damage. If you look very, very closely to the back here, you could see that there's a few dents into the case back. Now, there's no point in the case back where the coating has been completely removed, but I would imagine these dents came from when the clasp hit the case back, when I dropped the watch at one point or another, and yeah, it's a G-Shock, I'm going to drop it. But it didn't damage the coating, it just dented the case, and the coating kind of just went with it. And another thing you guys will notice at first sight here is that there is laser etched writing on the back. Yeah, it's not engraved, which I kind of like, because it sits smoothly on the wrist. And for a watch that's 7 years old, I really think that this coating's held up well. Look, there's no fading on it. It's beautiful. So, now to the case front here. If you look at the front, my particular model here has fading on the bezel. And this is actually a factory defect with this watch. I looked at the bezel the day I got it because I did read up on it a little bit. And it has a lot to do with the particular batch model of this watch. I know mine is 201D, so that's the factory it came from. And that particular factory, I think, just had a bad batch. But that doesn't bother me too much. It's under the resin, and I don't see it, and it doesn't affect the functionality of the watch. It has held up well. One of the major complaints that most people have with this particular piece is the small buttons. I personally have no issue with them, but they did fix the issue on the newer full metal squares. They made the buttons a lot larger and a lot easier to press. And who can complain with that, right? So, let's get the resin back on this watch, talk about it a little more, and I'll give you guys my closing thoughts. Alright, so here we have the GW5000 with the original resin on it. And the first thing you're going to notice is that it has this glossy, shiny appearance to it. Now this is something that I like to call sweating, and it happens when resin begins to rot. And the first signs of rot on this particular watch you can see are on the strap. So the strap's beginning to crack. It has a lot of very fine scratches, and if you were to bend the strap, they're actually pretty deep. So, this was very frustrating for me, and was the reason I ultimately changed the strap and the bezel on the band, or on the watch, was because I would have to wear the watch either one hole too big or one hole too small. It never fit just right at that point, and the resin on this watch is very cheap. So, what do I like about this watch? It's very thin, it fits the wrist comfortably, it's small, it's non-intrusive, it's good for activities such as sports, cycling, going to the gym, which is, I'm a very active guy. I love doing all that stuff, so it suits me very well. I've been through school with this watch. I've gone well into my career with this watch. I've been halfway around the world with this watch, and it is such a low-key piece. I don't have to worry about it being stolen or attracting attention. It has the 5 alarms, which I use. It has the countdown timer. It has a stopwatch feature. And yes, I do use the alarms on my G-Shock. And for those Lume junkies, yes, it does have an EL backlight, which I do prefer to the LED lights on the newer G-Shocks, just because it doesn't blind you in the middle of the night when you have that low light sensitivity going on. Another feature that I really like is the multiband 6. I fortunately live close enough to Fort Collins that I can get reception on this very, very well. If you do look, I don't think I got a connection last night, but I get it frequently enough that I'm always within a second or so of the actual time, which is wonderful. The solar feature has been great. I live in a very hot climate and I get plenty of sunlight, so this thing's always charged. It's a serious forget it about it watch. You just wear it and forget it. And it's really nice. You know, if you have a collection of automatics, it's really nice to just have that one course watch that you can refer to. And this is my piece. I wear it to work, and I wear it to the gym, I wear it cycling, I wear it when traveling. It's perfect. If I could have one G-Shock, this would be it. Now, if you look at a lot of the newer squares, like the GW5000, GWMB5000, which is the all-metal square, I'm not very interested in that watch. And the reason for that is it has the Bluetooth feature. And one of the reasons I like wearing a wristwatch is so I'm not bothered by technology. I just want to look at my wrist, know the time, and move on. I don't want to pull out my cell phone. I don't want to be connected to my cell phone via Bluetooth. I just want the simplicity of a G-Shock. And I think that has a lot to do with the G-Shock ideology. You look at what this watch is based off of. It's based off of the Casio DW5000C. That was the first G-Shock released in 1983. And that is something that I think this watch truly sticks to. It tells the time, it has the timers, and it's just a wear and forget about it watch. So for those of you that are interested, I would definitely recommend it. A lot of people tend to complain about the small buttons on this watch. I personally don't find them to be an issue, but you do have to press it with your fingernail. And they did fix this issue on the newer watches, such as the full metal squares. So if that's something you'd like, totally go for it. I've personally had the 5600E. I've had the GMW5. What is that one? Anyway, the 5610, that's what it is. So you have the 5610, and I think they're all great. You can't go wrong with either of them, honestly, because ultimately they all share the same Achilles heel, and that's the mineral crystal. And on my particular watch, I don't think my camera is going to pick it up, but I actually have one scratch in the 7 years on this crystal. And the main cause for that scratch, I am like 99% confident, is I dropped this while taking a shower, because sometimes I take my watch off when showering just to rinse it off, and I think the crystal landed on the edge of a tile and it caused it to get a very faint scratch. But other than that, it doesn't really bother me. I just don't see the point in paying more for a watch that isn't going to offer that sapphire crystal. And I think it also makes the cheaper watches a lot more appealing, because it's like, well, I might as well go with the 5610 if they're all going to scratch, or might as well go with the DW5600, just because it has that mineral crystal as well. So again, if you just want a nice, cheap, functional watch, maybe just go with the 5610 or the 5600. You can't go wrong with either. Maybe lean a little more to the 5610 if you want that solar and Bluetooth feature, which is really, really nice. I don't see much of the appeal of the new full metal squares unless you really are looking for that like GPS connectivity. So yes, I'm very happy with this purchase. I'm going to continue wearing it. Again, guys, thank you for checking in with us one more time. We really appreciate supporting you guys supporting our channel. You can please feel free to like, subscribe, comment below. I'll get back to your questions as soon as I can. And stay tuned, because I plan to upload videos weekly. Thank you so much. Bye.